Bahamas, and welcome to the Head Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. If you're in New Providence, it's a bit of overcast skies, but it's some of my favorite, my best days are these days when it's a little bit cloudy. No rain is happening. There's a little bit, just a little smidge of chill. I'm actually just in a cold spot right now, in a chilly spot, not cold, but then, I just love that. Happy post majority rule holiday. I'm so excited to be back. It's a beautiful day. It's Tuesday. We've had 3 consecutive Mondays of holidays. Thank you, God, and the PLP for adding this extra holiday called majority rule. Thanks. All right. That's probably one of the few things Christy did right. Yeah. So I want to say special thanks to that. And so it's good to be back. I hope everybody's doing well, that you're taking care of yourself, that you're living your best life today, because I'm feeling good. I'm telling you, there's a lot of things in the news that I don't know if it's in the news, because actually I haven't listened to the news today. I've been very busy today, but it's a lot of content that I wanted to discuss over the holiday weekend. And I will start off by saying I am growing very impressed with the speech writing and the delivery of the prime minister. That's what I walked away with. Mind you, the content was good. It was sufficient. It was a 20-minute press national address on COVID-19 by the PM this weekend past. I think it was Saturday. Yep. And in that 20 minutes, as we sit in the midst of surges, as criticisms are coming toward the prime minister and this administration on their handling of Omicron, this is now the 3rd speech that I've really liked that the prime minister did. Now, mind you, there was some extra fluff and stuff, but there were some pertinent points that were answered, and I liked the way it was answered. And I got my good friend Ca Nuri about to join me, because there's one of those things that we've been asking: what is the plan that the government has? I actually think that the government has provided a plan. Now, what we don't hear still is the markers or triggers. And this is something we've been asking and calling for. But what has been presented, it seems as if they have this idea that they're working with that I like. And when I say I like it, I like that there's a real idea on the table, or a real philosophy on the table, that the prime minister articulated very impressively to me. Now, y'all know, let's keep it real. Any sort of you have to, after being in so many bad relationships, or not bad, so many, but if you've been in like long-term but bad relationships, when the new guy comes who says that I could love you better, or I'm going to be good, but you have a history of making poor relationship choices, even though you made a prayer to God for the right guy and you got saved and you believe it, there is still a part of you that just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right? You're just waiting for the old habits or the bad mojo. You're waiting for something to happen so that you're not made a fool of again. I ain't gonna lie to you, that's me. Right? Where you just don't want to be made a fool of again. Last guy's had me as a whole kunk. So, right? It just, you don't wanna. So you come with trepidation towards any new government that comes into the Bahamas, into power in country, and there is trepidation. You're hoping that you'll see changes, and I will say, and I'm very curious. I have to do a show. CA and we must do a show where we grade the efforts of the government so far. I want to get your thoughts on how they're doing, because there are some things that actually give me some hope that maybe we are seeing some new day stuff. We are seeing some new trends, some things to be hopeful and optimistic about in the culture of the administration. But of course, we're all new, right? So, but there's some things that I really must say that I am impressed with the Prime Minister's address. Someone says all the PM said was wash your hands and follow the protocols. No, that's not all, but he did say that now. He did say that. But there was some other stuff here that I took away, that I listened for. So I got that. Now, he did say a lot of that now. You ain't lying. That's just that. But he said it for a reason. My good friend, Ca Nuri, joining me on the show. Ca, buddy, how you doing?
It's always good to be invited on your show. And I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about the movements and in terms of COVID-19 and what the government has put forward. And I'm happy to see that there is movement. I feel comfortable. I feel as if there is a plan, and I want to commend them for that. There's a number of things happened over the weekend that I would wish to discuss,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm guided by you to see if you wish to discuss those things. But yeah, I'm excited to be here to hash some things out, to
Well,
challenge and to
yeah,
analyze and critique.
yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk today about because we're going to talk about the government's COVID. Did they call it a plan or like COVID steps? I feel like COVID steps, and
Okay,
it's coming. It's based on a plan.
it's something. It's
Yeah,
something,
it was
and
definitely more than. Listen, I hate to beat a dead horse,
I,
but it giving me more, more optimism in terms of understanding their ideology than the last.
and Nahaja, I would like to say that from the last time we were here, I think that was
Mhm,
last week Monday, maybe, or last
mhm,
week Tuesday, because Monday was a holiday, where we asked for the plan.
mhm,
We suggested some ideas that should be in a plan, right? We suggested some things that we think that is missing in terms of steps.
mhm,
We had Dr. Sands on, and he also suggested some ideas on what should be happening,
mhm,
right? And remember, we did something similar before with the last administration,
mhm.
and they were slow in terms to responding. One or two things I think they adopted, but it wasn't something comprehensive that you can bite
Slow,
into.
slow is not. See, so slow. Is that what we say? Slow.
But
They're
slow,
in office because they were not moving at all. It
yeah,
is
they tend
moving
to be
on
slow,
slow.
and I'm moving toward that. I want moving toward that. Immediately after the show, I'm not saying that kudos to you and that you caused or any of this by the conversation.
Oh no, I
I'm
don't.
saying, I'm saying immediately after the show, I saw the questions that you put forward, the questions that Dr. Sands put and concerns Dr. Sands put forward, was immediately addressed,
Mhm,
right? And I felt happy to see that, right?
mhm.
And I want to say that I commend the government for that. I see movement. There's some things I still have some questions on, and that's what we should do. Continue to push forward and question and challenge. And but I'm happy to say that there is a response, and the response is wholesome enough that I can sit back and say, okay, I see where we're headed.
What I liked about it was it answered a critical question. See, for us, what we were asking for, Cecil, with COVID-19 is as we see the numbers skyrocket, what are we
Yes,
doing? What
yes,
what what is the strategy for
yes.
keeping things open? Right? Articulate that. What are we doing? Right? Issues with staffing, issues with well, I think we're still wanting to know more about expansion. But the prime minister mentioned more tents outside, so tent city continues to grow. Um, but staffing increases, tests, etc. But he answered this question, and I liked the way he did it because I understand, and this was something that we discussed at the very beginning of COVID-19. I remember Gilbert Morris, Professor Morris, and I having this discussion in February of 2020, asking about the strategy where health and economics come together. But this is the PM's statement that he made on Saturday on the case for why the country remains open. Okay, this was I thought this was interesting.
Much of 2020 and 2021, traveling the country from north to south. And what I saw in home after home and in community after community convinced me that the economic crisis, made worse by closed borders and lockdowns, caused at least as much pain and anguish as the health crisis. Since March 2020, we've had a dashboard for COVID cases. But what if over the same time we had a dashboard that showed how many small businesses were closing or how many Bahamian families fell out of middle class into poverty? Our economic crisis is so severe that it simply must be part of our consideration as we manage the health crisis. This is why we have prioritized economic measures to stimulate the economy and spur economic activity so that people can start earning and spending again. This is why we reduced VAT to 10% and increased pay and pension support to get cash flowing again. We have established a debt management committee and taking aggressive steps to promote confidence amongst international investors and lenders. Many Bahamians are earning their first paychecks in a long time. Many Bahamian-owned businesses are taking their first steps to recover. And as a country, we are finally seeing the beginning of a turnaround in our revenue situation. And we can see from the varying policy responses to COVID across the world that there is no consensus, no one right answer, no perfectly balanced set of policies to address both health and economic concerns simultaneously. Instead, we must stay flexible, learn from the science and from the experience of other countries, and respond to the needs of our people.
Okay, so I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Cecil, because now this was the Prime Minister's explanation, and I thought it was well written because he actually showed a level of empathy. Can I shout out to the speechwriter? Because the speechwriter actually been given the speeches for the PM for the past few. I don't know, not all were great. The two international one and that particular segment right there, I really liked that segment right there, explaining something from his point of view, whether you agree with it or not. That was probably the most articulate explanation that we've heard of why you keep the place open. I wanted to get your thoughts.
And mind you, this is a continuation from the last administration. It took the last administration quite a while to get to it. But after criticism and pushback and suggestions, we saw that the previous administration also opened up the economy, and they started putting a suggestion forward or an explanation as to why the economy needed open. We know that
they didn't articulate it like this, man.
No. There's a different type of articulation.
Yeah.
We find that the former prime minister was very combative in terms of when people asked him speeches, but we know that he had a hot and cold relationship with media, and that media tend to poke the bear, and then he responded in kind, and then it gone downward. Clearly, the idea of bringing in a press secretary to buffer, to give information beforehand, before the prime minister comes on, is definitely helping. And perhaps if the last administration had considered such, they too would have benefited from this type of address. Right, but like what I was saying before, it is a continuation of the last administration, but it's definitely better delivered. It's better explained, but it's still a continuation. We see the economy is always opening. We see the explanation that we need people to get jobs. What I would commend the government is that they got rid of curfew quickly, right? Because that hasn't working. We see we were questioning the process of lockdown. But it's a different situation and a different virus than when we first started, right? Even though we argued against lockdown, but we were able to cast a blind eye to it as we saw the deaths. We saw the hospital became overwhelmed. We saw the need for more beds. So, and the only solution we had at the present time, because we had no vaccine. Now we have a vaccine. So the situation is different. Right, we have a mechanism that can combat the COVID-19, and we see that this administration is taking advantage of it. And kudos to them, and they should be commended for it. But there's definitely a different situation at the beginning of the COVID, when we were uncertain, where we're making decisions on the fly, where some bad decisions were made, some decisions, ad hoc decisions were made, and some decision was continued longer than it should have. But now we see that there are ways and options that the government can take. They got that through criticism and advice from the public, from businesses. These are the mechanisms that they are prepared to put in. And but I want to mention the speechwriter. It's clearly there's a good speechwriter there, right? Clearly,
they get that. They know what notes to hit.
Yes, they know.
They know what notes to hit.
Whoever's writing is listening.
Yeah,
they're listening to the general public and saying these are the things that we need to address. And if that continues, and if the relationship between media and this administration does not sour, where it become combative, we should be having some good press statements and releases and conferences where we feel satisfied, right? I felt satisfied with the press conference. And even though I have more questions to ask, I see movement where I say, okay, next time when they come on, I'll ask this an additional question based on what was said before.
Yeah, I do, and you're right on all points there. See, and you're rejoining me. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We're talking. Someone says, until you all upset, Clint. Jules says, I did not hear a clear, definitive plan to deal with COVID. It was a good speech. And you know what? So there's so many points I want to hit on this, right? So for me, well, first of all, there's politics, policy. So there's people, policy, politics, or people, politics, and policy, right? And it should be in that order, where the people will determine the policies and politics, right? So with all of that, though, there's media management. This administration has gone out of its way to engage. And that is a top-down culture. As we saw, it was a top-down culture with the former administration, where the former administration was not engaging, right? So now we have a different type of culture. The note struck was empathy. That was missing in the last administration. Empathy. Many would say that was the missing part. What I heard, which was important, I think, in terms of notes. So for me, I'm not just listening to okay, let's just keep it real, yeah, Cecil. For any time for us to really get excited about a plan, it would really have to be a strategic plan that we've never seen before. At this point, just the articulation of an idea, one idea or philosophy is good because the bar was so low. I think coming in, my God, like I said, low-hanging fruits. I digress. Anyways, so now we have it where they are under fire. Omicron was coming. Cecil, you mentioned it on the show. We knew it was far more contagious. We were seeing Christmas Day, 520 odd positive cases. I think a day later or 2 days later, 400 and something cases, right? We were seeing big parties happening, this loose like a goose spirit taking over the country. And we know even if Omicron is not as deadly, the numbers, the sheer volume of persons who are positive will increase the number of persons in the hospital. And we've seen it. We've seen the numbers of hospitalizations increase. We've seen the number of, critically ill or in the ICU. We've seen that number increase as well. So we're seeing numbers increase, which is anticipated or expected. So then that's where the criticism of the government came, because now you're saying, okay, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Important for the administration to state is their philosophy on handling this process. It was important to hear their philosophy. Now it's incumbent on us to say whether we agree on the philosophy. The fact that we understand or heard the philosophy is important to me, because he tried to be empathetic. The prime minister did, right? He's being empathetic. You know, if we look at it, how many people can say that, hey, if we did a dashboard, I like that line. If we did a dashboard on who moved from the middle class to lower class, what would those numbers be? That was slick. But I like that.
But Nahaja, that's a challenge. You cannot.
There should be a dashboard.
You cannot come back to me at the next press conference without that. I could be vexed. You already enunciated. This is where I'm hoping the government is headed. So definitely in the next press conference, I assume something should be established.
Yeah. And what I think too, and weren't we supposed to do a census that unfortunately due to COVID, we weren't able to carry out? I think that's something that we need to hear. We would like to see continue. If we can get that census to know what was the amount of people who moved or switched levels economically in that station. But I think that now, because that was one of the issues for me, what is the philosophy on dealing with COVID? We understood they said, we're not closing down. Okay. Now I'm hearing from the prime minister, his reasoning for not closing down. His reasoning for not closing down is obviously, and we knew this, they're not last administration, like you said, accurately. This administration, though it walked into a COVID mess, saw an economic rebound forecasted in its future. Okay. So we knew that there was an economic rebound forecasted based on other things. Now I know what the former prime minister was talking about was, rough stuff winds was coming heavy. I don't got time for that. But I think that having him said what he said, this Prime Minister Brave Davis, gave us an understanding of their philosophy and thinking. We have to stay open, but we are prepared. On the other side of the break, I want you to hear where he says something very interesting, because it continues right after, on how they anticipated this, Cecil. And then I want to get your thoughts on, did you think they anticipated this? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts as well. Feel free to give us a call. Tell us what you're thinking of this progress process. A lot of things are being done. But are they enough? You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We'll be back right after this.
If you like a hearty, meaty burger, the A1 Steakhouse King at Burger King Nassau has it all. With flame-grilled beef, lots of bacon, cheese, and crispy onions on a sesame seed bun, the only thing that can top this is the tangy flavor of A1 steak sauce. The Steakhouse King is a meat lover's dream, and with an ice-cold Pepsi and hot fries, it's all you need to fill your day. Get your A1 Steakhouse King as a combo or part of the new King's Feast, only at Burger King Nassau, where taste is king.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and they set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. My good friend CA Nuri joining me on the show. Okay, CA. So we're talking about the PM's address on Saturday. Your thoughts on it? I like you were like, okay, well, listen, definitive plan, but strategies, or not strategies. Strategies is a strong word. A strategy means that there's a plan and we're executing it to the T. But I don't know. I don't know what to say on that. Is it a strategy? But anyways, so right after he goes on to speak about their philosophy on remaining open, right? Why we are open, even with this variance cruising through, and we will actually ask the question: what does open even mean? If people just stop traveling, what does open mean? If the CDC or the U.S. Embassy increases the warning labels on us when we are by parts per thousand, crazy numbers, right? Anyways, so here is another continuation on the Prime Minister's speech, and I edited it. I stopped it before he went on to say the other things that they're doing, but I just wanted the beginning part was interesting to me.
Previously, large surges of cases in our closest neighbor, the United States, have preceded a wave of cases here in the Bahamas. So we anticipated the surge and have been preparing. Yesterday, after successful free testing pilot programs in Eleuthera, Inagua, Bimini, and the Berry Islands, we began free testing here in New Providence. It has been clear to me since the start of the pandemic that free testing is the right thing to do and the smart thing to do. Your ability to know whether or not you have COVID should not depend on your income or wealth. And once people learn they are positive, which only testing can confirm, especially with a virus that produces so many asymptomatic cases, people can take steps to protect others around them. The 400 slots we offer daily were filled very quickly. So we expanded the number of free tests to 800 today. And we will offer 1,000 a day beginning on Tuesday. We'll also, of course, be expanding free testing nationwide. We've also started the distribution of free medical grade masks at clinics and at vaccination sites in New Providence. In the coming weeks, we will be distributing these masks at schools for the teachers who are working there now and in churches as well.
Okay, Cecil. The first thing was the line, we anticipated this, right? I wanted to get your thoughts on what the Prime Minister said. Now, the free testing was a promise, and they have gone on to do that. And the Prime Minister said that today they would be doing 1,000 tests per day. What is interesting with that, and he goes on to talk about why knowing and testing is so important and blah blah blah. Whereas other countries are like reducing the amount of testing that they're doing now because Omicron is affecting resources. Neither here nor there. I digress on that point. But your thoughts on that? Medical grade masks dispersed, 1,000 free tests per day. What was the other stuff that they said? It was like 4 other stuff. But your thoughts on that?
They brought in some Cuban doctors and nurses.
Oh yeah. 50 nurses.
They reopened up the clinic that was doing the test before, and also expanded to Malia to do non-asymptomatic symptomatic people.
50 nurses, and I think they said 17 doctors. Okay.
And I'm prepared to analyze all of that, just to have some fodder for the public to talk about. First of all, I don't think they anticipate Omicron at all. I think they're reacting to it, and they took a while to respond to it, because we've been talking about it for weeks, and there was silence, and we were begging for a response and giving out suggestions similar to what the last administration done. But again, I'm grateful that for them having a press conference now, and there is an initial response. My concern is more than likely we're going to go to a level 4. We can go to a level 4, and the CDC is going to put out a notice that not to travel to the Bahamas. Will the tourists respond to that? I'm not sure. But I can see in the future that perhaps Canada might close their borders. UK might close their borders. The United States might become more stringent in terms of coming back into their country. And if that happens, there should be a plan. Is there a plan? No, there's no plan for that. See? When you say you have a plan, you have a plan for that. Just in case that happens, these are the mitigating things that we plan to do. And of course, the Prime Minister have yet to announce any mitigating plan for that, right? But I embrace the Commissioner of Police sentiments. If the CDC do any warnings and plan to close the borders, it is what it is. We survived the last one. We'll survive this one. If things get slow in the hotel for a while and we have to lay off 1 or 2 people, it is what it is, right? If things get a little tougher, we got to give out some more canned items. It is what it is. But these things need to be enunciated that we are prepared to do these things. What I'm finding concerning is there are now talk about something called a Deltacron.
Oh, well, actually, there's been a report on that since, and many are saying they're not. Deltacron is some sort of error in the lab where it was seen in, what was the name of the place, the country?
Wherever country it is.
I remember the country. Just recently this morning in different articles, they were saying that Deltacron is a mistake that happened, an error in the lab.
Oh, so there's no such thing.
No,
I'm concerned about more mutations. This Flurona, the Deltacron possibility, and whatever it is, right?
Flurona is real.
If in the next 6 months there becomes a variant that is contagious and as vicious as the Delta, right? What is our plan for that, right? What happens if our hospital get inundated again?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens if our death toll triple like the last time? Right? What happens that the clinics get full? What is the plan for that? There isn't a plan as yet. But see, before I start cheerleading and bandwagon, see, when you say you prepare for you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst. I see we're hoping for the best, but we're not really preparing for the worst moving forward.
Mhm.
And in terms of the Cuban doctors and nurses, I applaud that.
Mhm.
Pardon me. I hope that I know COVID there.
But that's not COVID.
Yeah, that does sound COVID.
COVID.
It's a little tickle. It's a
That
little
was
tickle
deep.
in my-
That
my
was
chest part,
that was.
you know?
Did it burn? I just need to know.
It did something. It's like a stretching, and I don't have chest. Anyway, I digress. My point is, I embrace the Cuban doctors. I embrace the Cuban nurses, and any additional help and securing staff is always good. My concern is, I'm not sure how long they're going to be here for. What all were they hired to do? Was they were they hired to just deal with the COVID issues? Are we planning to using the Cubans' vaccination program and scheme? Are we going to embrace that also? Do we have space for them? Where would they be centered? Would they be in the Malia? Would they be in the clinic? How will they interact with our medical team and staff? How would that be involved? And that hasn't been explained to me as yet. Some people might say I'm nitpicking, but as a consumer and a customer and a Bahamian, right? I want these things answered. I want to know. Okay, I understand the plan. I'm working with the plan. I support the plan, even though I support them coming. I just want to know exactly what is it that they're going to be doing when they're here. Are they here for the long term? Can we put them on different family islands to work from?
They can't. They wouldn't be here for the long term. We got to use them for the short term.
I don't know. Nobody tell me nothing. They tell you. You get that inbox?
No, I need to. So actually, someone asked a great question. Said it would be good to hear directly from the Minister of Health on your show. For the record, I've spoken to the Minister of Health and he's agreed to join me on the show. We are working on a date by today. I think it was today, or he said tomorrow. We'll solidify a date and the Minister of Health should join me on the show because these questions, Cecil, need to be answered. And the Bahamian people have tons of questions to ask and be answered. To add to something to your point, listen, there so many things, right? So things that I'm happy about. And when I say happy about, for them that it shows some form of progress, like promises kept. You know what I mean? We've been questioning the COVID plan, like from Jump Street. Like, what was the COVID plan? But they got a philosophy that they're keeping it open. Okay, I roll with that. And the idea is that you keep it open. This is what the Prime Minister said. They're keeping it open now because the economic impact for many far outweighed. Now, I'd say that to the families that have lost people in this process. So this is what is different for me in this whole thing, right? And I got some text messages and whatnot. What is interesting with me in this particular scenario? Look at all of the world and what Omicron has done to all of the world, right? Just as Delta. Well, the scary thing with Delta was we knew that Delta was deadly or deadlier. We saw what Delta was doing in India, where it was first known and seen, and we didn't panic, right? Like nobody seemed to like code red it. And then when we, hundreds and hundreds of people lost their lives, we still weren't code redding it and doing all kind of foolishness. Omicron, we saw coming, and the narrative with Omicron was it's not as deadly, but it is far more contagious, right? But even then we knew numbers, right? And the numbers would say that even if it's not as deadly, if it's 40% less deadly than Delta, if the sheer volume increases, then there would be concerns. Now, the good thing about this is we're not seeing, and I think we have, I have a chart, we're not seeing the level of that we saw in the Delta wave. We're nowhere near Delta wave in terms of deaths, but in terms of positives, people who have had COVID-19, this is crazy, right? Okay, we should be nervous. There's no slapping up with Omicron because this thing is here and you don't know. Like Cecil, you get Omicron and everybody nervous because you only know if you're going to be okay or if you got to actually make a step into PMH, which for many people is like saying, write your will, right? People scared. So in my mind, I know that this is different. The virus is different. This variant is different in its behavior. This variant will explode in numbers. Now we're looking at what is the percentage of rate of hospitalizations and the worst case scenario deaths. The push is by this administration as prior, get vaccinated, get your booster, right? The data does show that vaccines, I tired, I ain't gonna lie, another shot, I ain't there for the other shot, but my husband didn't get his boost. I figure now I got to be a good wife and support him by watching to see if he will survive the night. So anyways, I'm just kidding. He got boosted like 2 weeks ago. He's all right. So any way you do it, we know that it is a preventative measure. We're not closing. That's what people got to get in. They figured out they're not closing. Cruise ships are going to stop at some point. They still sailing. But because their crew isn't healthy, some ships have not, sailed. What happens there, right? What happens when, as the hotels continually mount up with people who are positive? What happens there? Have we done enough? Are we doing enough for this philosophy of staying open? Are we doing enough? And 1,000 cases per day, tests per day, huge jump from 400 to 1,000. Good on the administration for that. Masks should have been something we did a long time ago. So I'm happy that they're doing this for teachers. And the churches thing was funny. I was like, church? I mean, good.
I'm thinking about the students, but I see they want to protect us, the teachers who vaccinated, but that's okay. That's okay. I ain't jealous. Because I can have my child bring home 4 masks for me to protect our whole family. But if they only want to give it to teachers, so be it. I'll buy my cheap one.
But I hope, is it N95? I think they were N95 masks. They said medical grade masks.
I'm still using the cloth one, just doubling up.
Well, get your N95, boo. You want to live to see another day? Yeah, you better get that N95. Let me see. But actually, when will the kids get it? When will the kids get the mask? It was the teachers.
They weren't included in that. They weren't included in the narrative. That's why I brought up the point. They weren't included.
I think the kids should get a mask too, though. I'm just saying.
A couple.
Actually, a few, because I mean the whole family.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, one of the teachers said we didn't get any masks. That must be coming in the mail. Don't watch nothing. Check the post office in the mall.
Have them distributed at Super Value. I know I'll be there.
Listen, just distribute it everywhere. Anywhere, I'm coming to get mine. I just want some N95. Those things are expensive,
It is.
Those are
expensive. I was taking the rapid antigen. I just saying, if I broke for that, I broke for masks too.
So I think it's going to be, I think that's interesting. The nurses and doctors, they have done, and I think the Minister Wells, former administrator, did they get nurses and doctors the last set? They got nurses and doctors, right?
I have no idea.
I think they did. I know they were talking about it, but I'm sure that
at one point in time, the public couldn't purchase the N95. It was only for nurses and doctors at one point in time.
Yeah, it was terrible. But they've gone ahead and they made sure that we knew. Can I say I am really digging the way they're dealing with their PR? I'm very impressed that they are trying to make sure that the media is walking with them in this process. That is something y'all don't underestimate how important this is. Understand how important this is just from the politics side, involving the media in the process.
It looks good. I can tell you that it looks good.
It does. The New Day people are getting good points, because I'll tell you, even though more information doesn't mean that you don't critique it, but the more information shows a level of transparency people like.
Yes.
And that brings in a level of conversation. So I can critique it. One of the things I did like what the former administration did when they started to show us the budget in a more consumer-friendly way, opening up the books to critique. I enjoyed that. I appreciated that. One of the things I would love Marlon Johnson for, former acting secretary, financial secretary for, was that. And opening that up for us. The former Minister of Finance, Peter Turnquest, appreciating that, because that brings more deeper levels of conversation.
And made themselves available for the scrutiny.
Oh, yeah. All right. So I think that's something that I walked away on Saturday. Cecil, I walked away on Saturday after hearing the Prime Minister's speech, where most of it was just reiterating, listen, get vaccinated.
Get vaccinated.
Be responsible.
Wear your mask, double the mask up.
socially distance, right? It's on you and I. Can I say though? I have to say this. It's one of the things I said on my show. Uh, and somehow I have to do the caveats, but people who listen to me every day know what the deal is. And I remember I did a show, Cecil, and I don't know if you were there with me, where I said that we want all of things or everything to go our way. We want the economy to rebound. We want everything to go back to normal, but we don't want to adjust. You remember it was a whole argument of, also the vaccinated could eat indoors and the unvaccinated got to eat outdoors. And you remember that whole debate, right? Now, this is before you learn more and you realize vaccinated, unvaccinated, you're still giving me things. I've been so, but there was a level of risk that you understood that if you were vaccinated, the level of risk decreased for you, right? And one of my arguments was, at some point, guys, you can't have it all. You want to have your job. You want to go to work. We know that things ain't the same as they used to be. Things ain't things. So you can't party like a rock star and then anticipate that, if you get COVID, there ain't no place to quarantine you. The government ain't never give you no place to go other than your house. What happens then? So this is important that conversation was to be had always. So there is a conversation of personal responsibility. But now let's be real now. When the former administration was only talking personal responsibility, they get mashed up. At least these guys are given personal responsibility, masks, COVID tests. They give me some nurses and doctors. I hear nothing but expanding South Beach Clinic, but they gave us more tents. I guess tents are a quick fix in terms of building.
Personally, I don't like being in no tent, That's catch a draft. My whole chest is, I don't like being out in the draft, catching no medicine. That's just me. Some people like that. But me, no.
I know some people who are in the tents. The biggest concern with the tents was
when it rain?
When it floods, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
Hurricane season, what happen? No.
And before we change topics, and I know you have some text and whatever it is, I wanted to acknowledge that the CDC has changed the prerequisite in terms of returning back to work, and that one does not have to be outside for 2 weeks and basically cleared by the government to go back to work. But after 5 days, 3, 4, 5 days, and if you don't have any symptoms, coughing and sneezing, etc., you can return back to work. And I think that was something scary about Omicron, because how many persons was impacted, and there was a shortage in employees forced to quarantine. But now we see that employees are able to return to work within 3 days, 4 days. And that is something that is helping us. We are truly blessed.
That's we're truly blessed. Do you know, in Ottawa, I was listening to to CBC, and immunologist, a doctor, I think she must be on the COVID task force. So she's now saying they're going, because the amount of doctors and nurses, the health professionals are falling out, like getting knocked out with COVID, that they might have to bring back some staff who have COVID still. And I'm saying, okay, hold on. Is this what we're doing now? It's like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know what this is. The world is we're shifting and changing policy, and that was fascinating to me this morning. The new normal. So I tell you, someone says, please follow the Department of Public Health's protocol, not the CDC. Agreed. I trust my people more than I trust the CDC.
Well, when you go to your job and you see you get called back in 3 days, you'll see what protocol they embracing. I'm just saying. I don't know. I cannot say I know anyone who does that.
Oh, I know. We don't know anyone, right? Wink, wink, nod, nod. But says someone says perhaps they're not fully COVID, only symptoms. Wink, wink, nod, nod, Cecil. All I know is people getting called back to work early, and boy, some tests feel like they've been manufactured negative. But we digress. I know nobody doing that either. But I said I thought it was hilarious this morning, and they're seriously saying now doctors and nurses who are positive with COVID might have to come back to work early. You got to work with COVID. So Look. So apparently, us being open, we'll be sitting down, and everybody got COVID at the restaurant. I'm like, hey, we short staffed. We can't close no more.
Yeah.
We can't close no more. You know.
Yeah. You drink and you put down the mask.
Yeah. Get your
But
shot.
this is why I believe that the school should open. I believe that it is what it is. If I'm not saying the persons under 11 years old should be allowed in school, but that's definitely the kids who are vaccinated, 11 and above.
Yeah.
And definitely the family island is a completely different thing altogether.
Well, that's what we'll discuss on the other side of the break, because I want us to hit on that for sure.
I want to preempt that then.
Yeah. Someone, quick question, was Black. My husband works in a warehouse, and someone at his work tested positive. He's unvaccinated and sent home for 10 days according to the new government health protocols. But he was told he will have to take those days as unpaid sick days or vacation days. Is that now the way of the new protocols?
That's now the way. That's now the way.
Really? Hold on. So you don't get sick days?
No. No. See, but let me show you how to get a sick day. Say you get COVID, right?
Yeah.
You have 10 days off because of the mandatory isolation. You would need to go to your doctor now. And your doctor needs to write you a sick note separate from being tested positive.
That's what you do.
And then they write you a note for 10 days sick, and then you can apply for the 5 days you're supposed to be out.
Yeah, no, that's what the 5. He got 10 days, Cecil. It's still 10 days here.
I'm just saying.
Businesses.
I know how it is to get 5 days, and that's it.
Some businesses are doing 5 CDC days. I've heard of a few places, right? Says that is craziness what the CDC wants to enforce. If you have COVID, stay home. Child, there's a time limit. We short staff. Short staff. All kind of people coughing in places. It ain't the cold. Don't watch nothing. It ain't the cold. But if you are, Cecil is right. Listen, go get your sick slip, please. And so you can get paid. Because I think everybody has so many limit on sick days. So you have to get your sick slip so that you can get your benefits for being out. So that's something that is, was that not what we were doing before?
No, people expected that they're isolating, they could get paid for the 5 to 10 days isolation, but no, they ain't working on that way.
Really?
You need to get your sick slip from a doctor.
Listen, and what's so crazy with that is you can imagine businesses that are falling apart right now, like trying to stay afloat, where they just call in department heads and saying like, you need to come in, because like the rest of your staff sick, but you need to come in, or there's such a high turnover and all across the world that this is now where we are. The CDC's rule change was to help businesses. It wasn't about safety. It was about businesses saying, I can't run my big, gigantic corporate center at this cost when people are out and I have to pay for them and then I don't have staff. Look, someone says he needs to get tested. If positive, take it in his sick slip. Gotta be due. Sick days are due. Someone says sick slips were always administered during the pandemic. Yeah. Now we had some people. Remember, Dwayne Sand said some people was issuing some fake sick slips. But that was back in the day. We'll take a quick break. Now let's switch gears. When we come back, let's talk about schools. Let's talk about education. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Good afternoon. I'm Tashina Robinson, and here's a look at some of the stories we're working on at this hour. The opening of the new legal year kicking off tomorrow with a virtual ceremony. Chief Justice Sir Brian Maury foreshadowed a few of his goals for 2022, including the implementation of a new case management system, completion of the court's digitization process, and launch of an e-file portal, among other initiatives. If any new measures are put in place for inter-island travel, they're going to hinge on the risk involved in traveling to each family island destination. That's the word coming today from Prime Minister Philip Davis. 818 new COVID cases were recorded on Friday, the highest ever daily spike in COVID thus far. Hospitalizations have returned to triple digits. Meantime, Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville says government is mulling over tighter restrictions for gatherings as health officials review protocol with the hopes of gaining a tighter rein on containing the spread of the raging Omicron variant. According to the latest rules, an indoor gathering must be limited to no more than 20 people, while outdoor gatherings may have up to 30. The family of a slain Royal Bahamas Defense Force Marine wants to view police body cam footage in the wake of their loved one's death at the hands of law enforcement officers. Police shot and killed RBDF leading seaman Rodney Adderley early Monday morning. Police claim Adderley was the aggressor and charged at them. National Security Minister Wayne Munro says the footage backs up the police assertion. That's what's topping the news at this hour. I'm Tashina Robinson. Stay tuned. AP News is up next.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished higher. The Dow up 183 points. Scientists say there are signs the Omicron wave may have peaked in Britain and is about to peak in the U.S., at which point cases may start dropping off dramatically. One of the reasons the variant has proved so wildly contagious, it may already be running out of people to infect. A Senate hearing on the coronavirus got testy.
You are totally incorrect.
Dr. Anthony Fauci lost his temper when Kansas Republican Roger Marshall accused him of hiding financial disclosure forms required of public officials. He said this after about Marshall on an open mic.
What a move.
Earlier, Fauci angrily accused Kentucky Republican Rand Paul of making false accusations that are leading to threats against him, all to raise political cash. Paul has repeatedly said Fauci lies about the pandemic, and in a hearing also claimed he tried to take down some scientists who disagreed with him. I'm Ed Donahue.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I hope that everybody's doing well, taking care of yourself, living your best life today. My good friend C.A. Nuri joins us on the show. All right, Cecil, welcome back, my boy. Happy holiday, whatever. What was that? My majority rule. Yay. Yeah, just wanted to say, I hope you had a good day. COVID-free day. 818. I didn't even hear, I get these things every day. Every day I get these things. And I actually downloaded the recent one before showtime, right? And I was supposed to open it and take a look. But on Friday, 818, 521 new cases as of yesterday. Additional COVID cases. Listening to the news, Europe is saying that it may have reached this peak as its Omicron is running out of people to infect. What a time. Now, God help us. Listen, my prayer is, this is the only saving grace of this variant, Cecil. If this was Delta, okay. All right? Okay. We don't have to say anymore. Omicron can have a conversation. And I need to also look to see if on that, did we have any increase in deaths? And no, We didn't see any increase there. So it's still 717. Thank you, Lord. God is good. That's good news there. Numbers have stayed flat since for what, a week or so. So thank God for that. But please, everyone, stay safe. This thing is okay. Listen, I don't know how you can social distance your way out of Omicron. I feel like you could walk past your own, you driving past someone and stop at a stoplight, your window down because you're trying to get ventilation. When they look at you, you got Omicron. They just look at you through their window. I feel as if Omicron is just there to antagonize us. And before long, we all will be touched by the Omicron ghost. All right, let's switch gears. So let's talk about school now. Yesterday, the Minister of Education, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Works, the press secretary. I was like, why are all y'all out here? Like, anybody tell you about COVID? The communications director. We also had Pia Glover-Roll. She's the minister for, I think, NIB and public service. The transport. No. Pia Glover. No, she's not transport. Public service as well. So they were all out there yesterday at school. So there was about 7 or 8 schools that they were inspecting for completion. As you know, one of the major issues that was noted by the Minister of Education was that there were a lot of schools that were closed. The Minister of Education, Gladys Hannah Martin, said something very interesting yesterday at that press conference. She said, they would have met their mark to open on the 11th. That's today. I don't know, maybe because I mean, I didn't see it, but maybe because they knew school was closed, they wasn't ready. But I thought that was a fascinating statement. However, here's the thing. We know that there are parents petitioning for schools to reopen or to at least give them some options on whether or not those who want their kids to go to school and those who don't want their kids to go to school. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Should schools be reopened now? Should there be some sort of hybrid option with government schools across the board, or because all schools are virtual at this point, I think?
Next week, the private schools return to hybrid. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if the public schools will be ready by next week to do the same. Mm-hmm. We know that the public schools tend to be at a disadvantage when contrast to the private schools all the time, right? And we know that the public schools have been closed, whilst the private schools have been open in some varying degree. I am concerned about the quality of education for the public schools for the last 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. I think we'll feel the brunt of this 3-4 years from now, mm-hmm. right? There are talks about how to mitigate it by having some accelerated teaching. I'm not too confident in that at all. Mm-hmm. I don't see it happening, but at least they're talking about it. I believe definitely we know the Family Islands have been at disadvantage compared to Nassau and New Providence and Grand Bahama in general. Mm-hmm. At least we should give them a fighting chance by having them open the school, have them have access to what all they need to have access to, because their situation is different. Mm-hmm. Definitely, there was some type of local government. The local government would have opened up the Family Islands by now, and I think that there needs to be lobbying by the union. And I understand why the union is concerned. They got to be concerned about the teachers or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But definitely, the Family Island situation is much different. They need to consider the Family Island staff, the Family Island students, and then move to New Providence in terms of what schools can be open and to what degree. I'm not saying that primary schools should be open now because they know they're not vaccinated as yet. Mm-hmm. But surely grade 7 should be able to open, grade 9 should be able to open, and grade 12. That's 3 different classes right there throughout the whole New Providence and Grand Bahama, of course. Should be able to open now and be able to social distance, and everyone else we can work on having a right strategy for them. But there's no excuse why those 3 grades, which would take a national examination, why they can't be open.
Yeah, no, and actually, that was something I think, Cecil, with the schools our kids go to, those particular grades, I think were face to face the entire time when they had face to face, and other grades would alternate, right? So that is something where, like you said, the private schools have figured out something. Making note of that. Um, so the prime minister then, in yesterday's walkabout, or press conference there at the schools, um, mentioned again that, hey, listen, a lot of children are not able to get vaccinated, right? They're not able to get vaccinated. I remember having Dr. K. Joy Sims on the show. K. Joy Sims, Bahamian pediatric urinary, some fancy child kidney doctor. That's I don't know the term for it, surgeon, but she said that they were seeing with Delta, a very scary increase in child cases of COVID, and we saw an increase here as well. I don't think we have any recorded deaths of children, but there is this concern. So this is what I heard from the prime minister yesterday: is that there is a concern for children. Hence why apparently we didn't have carnival, because it was the children. So I don't know. I think personally, I think Family Island should be able to chart their own course with this. A lot of Family Island schools are small, but their students are, or the amount of children that they have are small. And I think that this is why local government is so important, that you can chart your own way, each island having its own way. I think Grand Bahama was one of the islands where it was doing face-to-face almost the whole time last year, with most of its schools or classes. So,
and Grand Bahama COVID numbers are low.
Yeah. And so where best we can, there has to be some, I think, tailoring for each island. There has to be the customization, I think, of education for each island. I know that, and I think I think that the Ministry of Education did something similar. The Department of Education last time, I think,
for final exams or going into final exams, they had some face-to-face type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone says it would be great if the community could assist the government with putting plexiglass around the school desks. Well, the plexiglass is worse.
My VAT money gone towards the plexiglass.
No.
I paid for.
Well,
I
actually,
paid for it already.
More so than that, they're saying the plexiglass ain't good because it's actually nastier. People, so I don't know. It's like everything is getting. So now there's an anti-plexi movement. Because the plexiglass actually keeps all of this germ on it, and
that means they weren't cleaning the plexiglass; they just left it just like that.
That's all they're saying, is that people get this false sense of security with these plexiglass, and just all kind of things. All right, good day. Okay, so we got a lot of text. Let me see. Could it be that these new protocols will bring us to herd immunity quicker? Your thoughts? I would say that I still question Cecil, how we got, other than immunity, some sort of form of natural immunity. That was the only explanation why after Delta, the numbers went down. Because it wasn't vaccinations, because we still ain't even at 50%. And we saw in other countries and states, Israel, Boston, where 80% vaccination rates, they still had outbreaks and Delta was killing folk. So do I believe that natural immunity works? Hell yeah. They're even having discussions now, not discussions, but doctors are saying, well, if you had COVID, you don't need to rush to get your booster now. But the question is, when should one get the booster after having COVID? Because there is levels of natural immunity. There's so many questions. By the way, Meet the Doctor is some COVID educational campaign the government is doing, where you can ask the doctors tonight at 8 p.m. I don't know where it's happening. I got to find it. It's virtual, but you can ask the doctors anything COVID questions related. And this is the government also adding to that. But I mean, look, we got to find a way to get kids in school. And
instead of having a Meet the Doctor program, they could have meet the administrators on how to get the children into school. Let me give you some ideas on what can happen and what should be happening to open the schools.
You didn't like that that question and answer thingy with the Minister of Education and the Director of
Are the kids supposed to
Education?
get into school? No. So no, I didn't like it. No. The kids need to get into school.
Listen,
I need
the
to have
ministry-
a comprehensive plan on how to get the people into school by Monday.
It's not happening.
See,
It's
there
not
you
happening.
go. Then that means I'm not happy.
Listen,
no.
John, but no. Don't put this all just on the ministry, because also, remember John Canoe didn't happen? Not because the ministry or the government didn't try. John Canoe didn't happen because John Canoeists didn't want to go to work. They didn't want to do that, right? They didn't want to do virtual the way it was. They wouldn't go on Bay Street, but they still don't want to go on Bay Street.
The
So
John
the
Canoe
question
said,
also goes to
the government wasn't prepared to pay. If they had paid them more money, they would have
Now,
gone and do it.
teachers are saying, you ain't putting me in that sort of stress. Like the question now you got to ask, are teachers willing to do what is being suggested or any suggestions? Plus, the Ministry of Health also has a very tight grip and rein on what can be done. And I would like to hear really from all of these doctors and whatnot, man, like, yeah, man, we got to have some alternative. I think definitely Family Island should have a better option of, going to school. I'm thinking their numbers are smaller and they should be able to do in person. Here, class sizes of 35. It would take a logistical feat, but that is something that we should have by now, right? Someone says, I don't understand why in the height of this fourth wave, y'all want your children in school. Listen, I want my children in school, my child home.
See, my point is, if we have mitigating circumstances to avoid them from catching COVID, right? They can go to school. But clearly, if the parents are going to work and bringing the sickness home to the kids, then the kids should be able to say, and it's safe in that environment, surely we can do something similar where the kids can be safe within the school. And the idea of not...
but not all of them. There's no way all can be.
In hybrid, it can never be all of... We're still talking about hybrid situation. We just need to choose which classes can go to school and make sure that particular classes have that access to education. Grade 9 has BJCs. Grade 12 has BGCSEs. Grade 8 has GLAT. Grade 6 has GLAT. Let those kids go to school. And we can use all the classrooms. That means only be like 12 people in the classroom. You see, there are ways to mitigate these situations. And if those persons have sick people into the class, have them zoom in. You can watch at home while the other people are in class at the same time. So it's doable.
Well, I won't lie. I remember when the pandemic first started, the teacher, wonderful teacher named Miss McDonald, right? Wonderful teacher named Miss McDonald. Ms. McDonald was doing virtual and in person at the same time, right? Because they were trying to do this thing where they wanted the whole school, the whole class to learn together, but we didn't want the whole class together. No, buddy, you know how stressful that is?
That's when your teacher's assistant. Teacher's assistant.
Cecil.
Government schools don't have teacher's assistant.
Teacher's assistant?
Yes.
Teacher's assistant?
Yes.
Who was it? You know what? Unless we hiring all of them children from COB and tell them take a year off, do a gap year.
Bring some Cubans. Bring in some Cubans. They have a whole island full of teachers and doctors and nurses and mechanics. Bring all of them in.
Yeah.
You know, have them come and teach math and English.
Listen, here's my only thing is I've seen. I felt I was so happy when the school decided, look here, we can't do this. The teacher was getting stressed right up. There's no level. We as parents and as lay people don't understand. I can't comprehend. First of all, you try to teach. This pandemic has proved to me why I like schools. I ain't a teacher. My patience level ain't strong. And, you could Google the internet for everything else, but you don't want to Google nothing when it comes to education. To just run me hard, right? You can tell us a little pet peeve, and I'm supposed to know the answer. And then I get vexed because I realize I don't, but we digress. Anyway, watching teachers struggle in this, plus they have their kids home. Like I have quite a bit of empathy for my teachers as well. And so it's like, I ain't gonna lie to you, this thing is deep. I don't know how to fix this, I really don't have a clue how you fix this, but there has to be a better strategy at some point, though. At some point, Cecil, I like the idea of grades 3, 6, 9, and 12. I like that. That should work.
Let's work with that then. Let's work with that.
That should work. Do we
I
have enough
just had a
teachers for the work
flashback
now?
eavesdropping on the child's school,
Uh-huh.
and one of the teachers had an issue with their child, and the child was being there virtual, and it was acting up, and she's in the middle of trying to explain to her class the whatever she's teaching, and I'm listening, and you hear the teacher said, "Hold on 1 minute for me," right? And she did not put the mute button on. And yeah, what? Go sit over there. And he had a whimpering, and all the students laughing, right? So I can imagine the stress parent teachers got to be going through, and when they have to go and discipline the child, say, "Oh, this time out, let me go and deal with this." You know, I'm still a parent. You know?
Oh, this is tough, and there's a teacher shortage. You know, this is when you look at it, see, so one of the issues we had with education has always been this ministry, this department. It just seemed like it just molasses, walking in molasses. It's just it's very messed up. I tell you, health and education are two of the worst run ones I think we have in country. But it does require some, some pushing forward. Now, I will say the schools are done, almost completed. The minister says they would have been ready for 11.
Why are the schools not finished constructing us yet? That's what I'm concerned about.
Well, she said that they're ready to go. She said they're ready to go.
Till now, January?
She said they're ready to go. And they were there, so it's just clean up now. And I gather there's no rush to clean up since, school opening on the 21st. But they are ready to go. She said yesterday that if school was to open on the 11th, which would have been today, it would have been ready to go. The only thing left is to clean up. So, clean up, right? Someone says, just tune in. This week alone, I didn't hear about 6 flipping people who get COVID. You want us to send our kids to school?
I know the jobs. What's happening on the jobs?
Listen, it's a lot more.
6 people. The jobs.
Yeah.
Jobs are having a hard time, but they're mitigating and maintaining it. We're working through it.
Listen,
we learn to work through it. You tell you turn them to social distance. No,
kids come on a social distance. Listen,
no slapping up.
You look here.
If somebody cough, just tell them go to the office.
Do you know? I read an article today where they are projecting that COVID. So a couple scientists are projecting that COVID will be with us for 5 to 10 years. There ain't no normal. 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years, y'all. We have to figure out something with education, with healthcare. 5 to 10 years. This is a lot. This is a lot. But I don't see with 818 one day, 521 yesterday, that we're opening schools anytime soon. I don't see it.
But Nahaja, we also forget the Prime Minister said that more than likely everyone in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas will be impacted by Omicron. That's going to school or not. If you stay home, you can catch it. And if you go to school, you can catch it. So if you can catch it no matter what, send the children to school.
No.
We didn't warn you. Yes, more than likely, everybody will catch this.
But you're trying to create a wave right now. If everybody's let loose like a goose, which we have been, and I wonder, it goes back to the joke. Does COVID only show up after 10? Right? Because I hear people wanting curfew again, and you remember the joke would be like, "Oh, COVID hiding behind that palm tree," and then 10 o'clock, it just jump over and say, "Ha ha, gotcha." Get you tonight. I was waiting here and nobody had touched till 9:59. I saw the clock ticking, but 10 o'clock I reached. Poof, you ain't catching that no more. So I don't know about the curfews. Definitely fines. Anyways, if we don't try to find ways to stem it, we can't let it all out because again, the numbers still don't make sense, Cecil. No, if the volume increases, even if it's 40% less deadly than Delta, the sheer volume will still see us with a hospital capacity that we cannot deal with. And so, no, you don't say let everybody get it one time, because I think Sweden tried that earlier with the UK strain. Well, that ain't gone well.
But Nahaja, the kids are catching Omicron through the television screen. through the computer screen. They're getting positive. I'm trying to say everybody's going to get this Omicron. Send the children to school. Because right now we're talking to each other, and I can see it, the Omicron floating.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I've seen Omicron floating, but as soon as that cough happened, I was getting a little nervous. And then, listen, I just want you to know, this holiday season, I was locked right down because I so did get on me. We got omnied. So we didn't omnied, and we vaccinated people and then they get omnied. So I don't even know what to do. You might see it on the screen for true. Let me clean it like a plexiglass.
I stay spraying off my screen just in case, you know.
Someone says, I shut down the bars and nightclubs for 14 days and watched the numbers decrease.
What? I'll be shutting down the bars.
Yeah, you never know.
That's where the cure is.
In the ales. In the
ales.
In the ales.
It's saving us.
Someone says, kids in my settlement riding bike all day. I ain't gonna lie to you, right? I feel like Family Island should be okay. I really do. Like they what are their case numbers? They should be in school. Like actually, I don't even have to guess what the case numbers are. We can look at it. Abaco, so Grand Bahama had 10. So we had 521 positive cases yesterday, right? 422. The epicenter of COVID is in New Providence. 422. 79% of cases is in New Providence. Grand Bahama has 10% of the new cases. That's 59 persons. Eleuthera, 13. That's 3%. Abaco, 9. 2%. Exuma, 9 new cases. That's 1%. Andros had 3. That's 1%. Then we go on Bimini, 0. Berry Island, 0. Long Island, 0. Cat Island, 0. Inagua, 0. Crooked Island, 0. Ackland, 0. Meguana, 1. And he ain't got no percentage. San Sal, 0. Ragged Island, 0. Family Islands could be in school right now. Could be in school. You know, Family Island kids could be in school, I believe. Now, the question is, do we have the teachers to support it? I think we do. Just pay the teacher, bump the teachers' pay, man. Bump the teachers' pay. Mitigate that risk. They got to pay for childcare for their
nurses
kids.
And police getting bump up. Give the teachers a couple $.
And let them, man, listen. Why can't we be Canadian for a couple of minutes there? Be Canadian, right? And then just say something like, this ain't free healthcare, but we can give you free childcare because we got, childcare services, and we'll, that's helpful maybe for some people. I don't know. So we'll see. Anyways, we take a break. When we come back, Cecil, let's switch gears too. Let's talk a bit about police shootings, right? Someone says,
there's a lot of police shootings.
I want to go to Ragged Island. No COVID cases. Yeah, that sounds good too. All right. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We'll be back after this.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and they set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
If you like a hearty, meaty burger, the A1 Steakhouse King at Burger King Nassau has it all. With flame grilled beef, lots of bacon, cheese, and crispy onions on a sesame seed bun, the only thing that can top this is the tangy flavor of A1 steak sauce. The Steakhouse King is a meat lover's dream, and with an ice cold Pepsi and hot fries, it's all you need to fill your day. Get your A1 Steakhouse King as a combo or part of the new King's Feast, only at Burger King Nassau, where taste is king.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Joining me, my good friend Ca Nuri, joining me on the show today. Ca, let's do some text messages real quick before we switch gears to the shooting. Good afternoon, ma'am. I must say I am very impressed with this New Day government. Boy, if they keep this up, I see 2 terms for them. So the PM stated in his address that the hospitals will be filled with the unvaccinated in this Omicron surge. Where is the PM getting his data from? Joe Biden? Bridge should strive not to sound foolish. So the PLP won and opposition blamed the former administration. They don't care now. They won. Now the PLP and their press secretary blaming the Bahamian people. Oh, that's funny. I said from day one, the PLP offered no substance between 2017 and 2021. They hardly made a conservative criticism. The whole issue at election was to hate menace and get vexed with the lockdowns and curfew. The PLP played right along on convenience and popularity. They are very double-minded. All right, good day. We got persons taking the rapid test, testing negative, then positive, then negative. So persons walking around with COVID thinking they're negative. What do we do? Long time we said that those rapid antigen tests. Man, listen, the amount of just type in COVID tests and find from, I always say reputable sources. Please don't go to websites you never hear about. This conversation is actually happening across all major media platforms on the COVID tests. Countries are deciding that they're going to limit PCR tests because of shortages. Questions about whether or not we should be using the antigen test. Is it able to capture Omicron? We've always known that the rapid antigen tests, regardless of the strain, if you are asymptomatic, is a challenge with detecting COVID in you. What they have found, or what they've been saying recently, is that these tests is better suited for persons who are showing symptoms. So if you're asymptomatic, you could get a negative, right? Now, this whole thing where it can't tell, that was a fake news where we're saying it cannot tell, the PCR test cannot tell whether you have COVID or the flu. That has been deemed fake news. Okay. But we do know that the rapid antigen test has had some challenges a long time ago. And if there is positives and negatives, this thing, all kind of hiccups. Just go ahead and type it in. You'll have fun. Grades 3, 6, 9, and 12 in the public schools should be face-to-face at minimum. Someone says, is the public schools closed because of rising COVID cases, lack of completed school repairs, or lack of vaccination? The PM needs to make it clear because he's confusing me. Right? I think it's rising COVID cases, but the school repair is an issue, or lack of vaccination. It's a rising COVID cases that, based on what he shared, was the rising COVID cases. And since the kids don't have a vaccine under 12, is under 12, Cecil? Is it under 12? The vaccines?
It's 11 and under. I guess under 12, same thing. Under 12, 11 and under.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Someone says innovative idea, set up on R. Bailey Park, Christie Park, Fort Charlotte. Put up those widescreen TVs, display boards, and have drive-in classes. Bam! All students in the same grade could be covering the same topics at grade level. Report to that location. 2 weeks top to set up. But you say drive. But
yeah, I'm not sure my child driving. She's only 14.
I know who giving them the car though.
It ain't gonna be my car.
And I ain't waiting with him in school all day. I got work. But yeah, it's a thought. Definitely there. Hard. Listen, this thing, Lord. Who's saying the new virus have already taken a couple lives? Which new virus that is? New virus is Marburg. I can't keep up. I ain't gonna lie to you, right? COVID need to go. Like you don't want to say to your ma, you're stinking, dusty, my COVID around here, but you got a cousin. I ain't into you.
Shakespeare would say, "I bite my thumb at thee."
I bite my thumb. Bahamians would say, "CYC."
CYC. Corona Anna Auntie.
Just got more variants than Loki. No, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I ain't interested. All right. So let's switch gears. So this is this. So recently, and it was in the news just recently, another police shooting, and at this time of a Defense Force officer. The story surrounding it is that the Defense Force officer, listen, there's a story surrounding it anyways. We don't have the time to get into all of the details, but that what was shared online when the first reported online. I remember seeing a comment when it was shared on Facebook, a comment by someone saying the police needs to tell the truth, or else I'll show you my camera. That man was minding his own business. I'll show you the video footage. Then we had now a discussion on the video footage. The family is saying we would like to see footage of the shooting. The Minister of National Security said that he saw the footage, agrees with the police's report that the gentleman lunged, was the aggressor, and they had to use lethal force. We don't have tasers, I gather, but lethal force was required. And Cecil, I need you to get me up to speed. Did the Royal Bahamas Defense Force officer, was it said that he had a weapon? And they shot him because he had a weapon, or he lunged at the weapon?
He did not have a weapon. The previous deaths by police, they had weapons apparently. The weapons were always found on the scene, right? This particular individual is a officer of the law, a commended one who got a lot of awards. He understands the law. He's law-abiding. He was not known to the police like how the usual narrative was said.
He was
by
known
other people.
to the police.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And whereas the Bahamian people and also the Commissioner of the Police just usually dismiss whatever happened. They had a gun, therefore they got shot. This particular one, we know that the gentleman was unarmed, right? We know that he worked with the police. He's familiar with the police. And we know that he is being awarded for his good work and his ethics. So it was strange to hear that this particular gentleman lunged at the police. But apparently, the police and the Defense Force, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, are working together. The Commodore and the commissioner shared with the Commodore of Police the video. Right, and they have agreed or concluded that it seems as if the Defense Force officer did in fact lunge at the police officer in terms of grabbing his gun or try to take away the gun, and because of that affair, the police officer discharged his weapon, which ended with the death of the Marine. Right, but that's where we stand right now. And then we see that the Commissioner of Police said that he's not going to release the video to the public, but instead that he's going to be the video itself is going to be released to the coroner, and that the coroner is going to judge or make that determination on whether the findings of the police was correct, indeed that it was a justified killing, or not. So that's where we are right now. We're waiting on the evidence to be presented to the coroner. There'll be a coroner inquest and a conclusion on what it is. But it begs a question on what is the purpose of this video vest? Who were this video? Why did it came about? Why did we say we needed it? And who should have access to seeing the video and when? So that's where the big general populace of the Bahamas is now up in arms about. It seems as if that we are not included into determining whether justice is being preserved or denied, and that is a concern.
Yeah, and what is interesting to me in all of that, Cecil, is that the question we've heard this before, right? We've heard this before. We're going to take this to coroner's court.
Repeatedly.
Right? And there are cases where the coroner's court will say that the death was not a righteous kill, right? But we don't hear about justice against the officers. We don't hear about that. It's very, very rare. And the cases take long, and we don't have that arbitrator in the middle that we trust to do justice to the story. Now, the question will come, should the family see the footage? This is where we need to know what is the rights of the citizenry. If that's my child, I need a lawyer who's going to tell me where in the law can I demand to see that information. We need to find out if the Freedom of Information Act, which we haven't heard anything about much since other than they're going to follow through with it. And I think there was something, I don't know where we are with that. But does this freedom of information give us access to this sort of information? How is it now? Okay, because we're a small country, and I've had lawyers tell me this many times before, because we're a small country, that's why we have this thing where we say sub judice. You can't discuss a case out in public so as to prejudice the jury, because the jury pool is small. I could understand if they're saying, okay, this is going to court and we don't want to prejudice the jury by showing this information, right? If that is the process, then fine, because then we can trust our peers based on footage to determine what the outcome of justice will be. But we can't even get to charges to get to a court case. So now there are so many questions as, do we trust the coroner court's process? I'd say that you can. The problem is you don't trust the process after the coroner's court. We don't trust the process where the police is still the arbitrator of themselves. They're still the justice enforcers of themselves. We don't trust that. And now here we are with a family where you cannot dismiss, because the fella has awards based on the content of his character at work. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force, even the question of him lunging, was he intoxicated? Was there some reason why he would forget his training? Or were the officers, as we've seen many times, grab you by your neck for no reason, even if you're a skinny young woman, and harass you and handle you as if you were a man? Was that there? No, we're hearing that, hey, listen, the video shows that the case that is presented by the officers. Now, I'm not saying the officers are guilty, but what I am saying of any crime or offense, what I am saying is that just as we demand trust and accountability restored in government and administrations, the police force has lost trust. They've lost the belief in them. And I think that it's very important.
I don't think they necessarily care.
But they don't. So now
and you heard in the references of the cop, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
No, but this is where I need to know now that there are lawyers out there who are saying that the attorney for the family is saying that is footage. Now, here is any footage that is public. The police can't own someone's footage. So if there is a neighbor who has security footage, that footage is the property of the neighbor. So then that footage should be, if the family wants to, they can request a copy and they have that footage, right? So I think that we should now, if you're going to be wearing body cam, the body cam ain't just for you to have, for the police to have. The body cam footage is also for the public. And we should have legal ways to request viewing of body cam footage in cases where there are questionable areas.
And I hear you, Nahaja, but it seems as if that's policy. And the policy is determined by the Minister of National Security, whether it's the body cam footage is for the public or it's for him to give it to whoever he feels comfortable with. And he has mentioned it before that it is up to him. And he has determined that, no, the public will not get it. So it's a matter of policy right now.
Yeah, and that's the problem. We don't like the policy. So now this is where the law comes into play. This is where there should be champions of law who should be arguing on fundamental tenets. Lawyers in our country shouldn't just be trying to make sure that they can, make a quick buck. There should be some who change and transcend. No matter how much you don't, this is a point now where I'm tired of lawyers messaging me and saying, you see this case. Lawyers need to get together and now say we are tired as defense attorneys having to fight this issue. We need to come together. Is there something constitutionally? Is there something where you need to take it to the Privy Court? Is there something where you need to go? Because we have the Supreme Court with cases being heard about police abuse, right? And then there are quiet sums of money given and doled out, but no consequence to the officers. All of that said and done, footage that is being paid for by the public for police to wear in terms of body cam should also by some way or means be accessible to the public where it warrants such. And I don't even care for me, I don't need to see it. Will the family get to see it? And that is what is important to me in the sight of it all. So, I don't think you trust that the police shouldn't be the ones, the arbitrator of information. That's just what I'm thinking. They cannot be trusted to determine, the commissioner otherwise, to determine the outcome of a case in this matter. So I think that's very important to me.
I'm just saying that I'm not sure who to appeal to. The usual person would be to the minister, and the minister has determined that no, it's going to go to the coroner's court, and that's it. I mean, the whole discussion right now is moot. Right now, we ain't getting it. You're not going to be able to see it if you're not the coroner. You may have some concerns. The concerns ain't none of our business. That's where we at this present time.
Yeah, and well, where it needs to be our business is then us saying, but we don't like this. See, because this is the challenge here is it could be anyone's son. It could be anyone's daughter. And I would not be able to sleep. I know parents today who still can't sleep years later after their child was murdered or after their child was, shot. There was one case, and I remember this, and I can't remember the name. I think it's Roll, where the coroner's court found that the police officer shot the young man in his back and said that there was no need for deadly force. Shot him in the back. That case has still not been brought forward by the prosecuting attorney. Still not. So then what are we doing? And I go, for me, justice, law and order, it matters on a fundamental statute that we can trust the people who execute law, who execute order, to always be held in higher regard and esteem. So, I don't care what people think I can never be anti-police. I need the police to always be a part of my security mission. But I need to know that when the police comes to my house, that they ain't a pimp slap me for no reason.
Door kick down your door and don't care
without a
the
warrant.
damage. That's without a warrant. And if they do it, you expect to somehow have some kind of recourse that you can become compensated for the actions.
Or coming to you with an old warrant that's months old and it's no longer valid. Doing all kind of skullduggery. And we need
break up your camera phone because you're recording what's happening.
Thanks. I mean, you know what it is when they can tell you, well, they can't break it up. Minister of National Security, well, they can't break it up if they don't see it. What? What? Okay, I gotta hide my camera, which is my right to have from the police.
What's that in your pocket? Oh, you know how that ends. Show me your hands. He has a gun.
Listen.
And bam.
And stopping people without being properly identified, without identifying. There's also another case that's before the courts now, where the police says that they stopped the defendant alleges that the police stopped him without any warning, without any siren, unmarked car, hopped out of the vehicle with a gun, aiming at him. He tries to evade. They shoot him in the car.
No.
They follow him to the hospital because now he's bleeding and thinking he's going to die.
Oh, Lord. It was out for him.
Okay. But there was no reason because there was the wrong person, but they never identified themselves.
Perhaps he was black. All us black people look alike.
Driving while black at night in a Honda.
Automatically guilty. Guilty.
Don't drive. I don't even know why y'all drive Hondas. Hondas, anything small. Don't drive nothing small.
Don't drive no Fit.
Why you gotta talk about my car?
I'm just saying, when you drive the Fit, you're guilty. You're wrong.
It is. But see, but I drive a hybrid. They think that's a little bougie.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. And white. I don't drive the dark one. You gotta be. I don't know. I go west, so they don't come for me. If I was in
any type of silver car, you don't drive no silver car. You always get identified as one of them.
Yeah. It says the coroner cannot charge any officer. That's why this crap will continue. Yeah, the coroner can't charge. The coroner can only say, this is the case, right? This is what is presented to us in facts. Mm-hmm. And this is what we can tell based on what is presented to us that this was, what do you call it? Oh, Lord. I can't remember the terminology that they use, but in essence, that this was not a necessary killing. No need for lethal force in this, unwarranted. And so, we have to, I think anything where there's a camera and the family is calling for it, there must be legal parameters by which a family member can get it. If it is to build my case as an attorney, and I do trust the coroner's court process. I really do. It is the processes after the coroner's court that I do not trust. And that is where the challenge comes, because after that, then what? I'm telling you that there is a case that still has not been seen after the coroner says that the police was wrong in the shooting. And I haven't heard anything since. I think this was in 2018, 2017 when the case was determined. And nothing since. So, I don't know. Your thoughts, Cecil, as we start to wrap up.
This is where the commissioner of the police needs to speak on it. And if they refuse to speak on it, you go to the prime minister and ask, Mr. Prime Minister, something needs to be done. I'm not comfortable with what the minister is saying. I'm not comfortable with the commissioner of police is saying. This is where the action groups, these activist groups, need to speak out. And if they have to protest every day and draw attention every day, if they have to boycott and cause mischief out in the streets, do these things to draw attention and to be able to have the proper response. Right, and until we do actions, these things will continue to repeat itself. Where the killings are being dismissed as saying, man, these people are known to the police, therefore they don't deserve any proper investigation to see if anything untoward or against the law happened at all. So this is where we as Bahamians come in, and perhaps demand for new laws to say, well, from now on, all footage will be released in a particular time period. Right, even if
in a particular manner,
or even if it would be the verbiage, you might not have seen the video itself, but we can at least hear the conversation, allow the conversation to be heard by the public.
Listen, what do they do in the States? If there's a particular footage you want to see, you make a petition, right? You make not a petition, but you do up your drafting in court so that you could say, hey, I need this for my case, blah, blah, blah. And it isn't every time that it's released, because I gather it's based on some metrics or whatnot. But we do need to stipulate, y'all can't just have film and think that I ain't want access to the film. You are paid by the public. You are paid by the people. The people's money is in the treasury. That footage, listen, we won't go into the crazy court syndrome. Everybody believe they got a gripe guilty in it. But there is a process by which that footage should be obtained, and it cannot be left to the Commissioner of Police to determine who are we going to give the footage to. The law should state so. And there should be a quick court to do such things, just as there should be a quick court to issue it and discuss bail and other things for concern. Now, before, and I want to switch because we only have so much time left. And this is a terrible segue. So everyone forgive me because that was a heated exchange. Now I want to go into something that's a little bit more somber. But Cecil, on Friday, was the announcement of the passing of Sir Sidney Poitier. And I did a whole show on just remembering Sir Sidney.
I enjoyed the show, by the way. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you, buddy. And I enjoyed it too, actually. I was quite happy that it was able to happen as quickly as it was. So special thanks to all of the guests who said yes on very short notice. But I wanted to get your thoughts. So one of the things that the Minister of Foreign Affairs said, and a friend, Fred Mitchell, friend of Sir Sidney, said was that he's hoping that the family would want to do something here as well, right? And so that would actually be quite awesome if they decided they wanted to do something here in memory of Sir Sidney. But I wanted to know your thoughts. Should we've named a bridge after Sir Sidney. Should there be something else that we do as tribute?
Mind you, for about a year or so, I've been lobbying that I've noticed that Sidney Poitier is getting older, right, and fragile. So we knew beforehand that the good gentleman is getting old and fragile, and that as a nation, we perhaps, because of his significance, that we should start preparing something momentous, especially when his birthday is coming up. I think it's in February. So, and I think that our national honor system is something that should be redone over. That seems like every person can be a national hero, but definitely Sidney Poitier is a national hero that should be celebrated and commended. And there needs to be some kind of place where we could put a bust of him to tell his story. There should be a national arts festival where we have poetry and songs dedicated to him. There needs to be places named after him, and it needs to be celebrated. And by adding Sidney Poitier, I'll go and add James Catlin. We have and the names escape me right now. I'm getting excited, but there are so many persons that we have ignored over the years who should be celebrated. and we need to become sober and make some key decisions and make some budgets and say, this is what we plan to do. Have a garden of remembrance that we can celebrate our artisans, our heroes, and moving forward. And that needs to be happening immediately.
Yeah, listen, and I love that. I love that garden of remembrance. You can imagine having this sort of garden where you see statues. What's so crazy? Patricia Bazard. Yeah, great name. What is so crazy is that we in other countries, people go to the grave site to see the mausoleums, right? To see where the greats of that country has been buried. Our people all over the place, right? That's the first thing. So there's no space to go to. So a garden of remembrance would be fantastic if we had busts that's the right height, and we have artists who can make these for us, right? Real statues that they can make for us, and this place can be a Zen garden, right? And sort of where you can go and relax and meditate, have lunch, but where you weave through stories of this person in a timeline of greats, right? Or imagine having a circle with statues of all of the men and women who were at Mr. Walker's hotel, trying to determine how they were going to get majority rule, or the women for the suffragette movement having a discussion over tea, staging a moment through these statues or statuettes that would then tell a story of our history, creating a space of pride. I think it's very important that we do these things because history is a part of our future, and it gives us such a sense of identity and self. And it's not just a space where the family can come and be proud, but that we all can go and celebrate. And I think as what we tried to do with that park, what we did with that park out, what's the $600,000 park name?
By the beach?
No.
By the beach?
No. The one in inner city. The Prime Minister's love.
Yes, the government ground park. By C.R. Walker.
Yes.
That park. Yes.
That was a great park. Well done. We can do something that I think with intention and with a bigger budget, obviously, to create a space where we continually, Southern Recreation, thank you, where we continually add our greats and our legacy. Because we have people who transcend time and space, man, who transcend location, who are known across, Elijah Obed. Who has seen a photo of Elijah Obed, a world champion in the time when we weren't thinking of it? Elijah Obed should have already had a street, should have a stadium named after him. One of the greatest 40-odd fights in a row he never lost. Never lost and was a world champion. We ain't got no bust of Elijah. I ain't gonna lie to you. I still don't know how Mabel Walker looked.
And that story isn't being told. And this is, and Sir Sidney's story, it reminds of that there are a number of persons who do not know his contribution to the Bahamas and in general. And it's such a wonderful story to tell. And the generation before us did not do their job by retelling that story and making sure that every Bahamian is familiar with who Sir Sidney Poitier is.
Yeah. Well, only politicians get stories, my friend. Only politicians and preachers get stories. Thank you so much, CA. I appreciate you, buddy. See you soon. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black Guardian Radio. See you guys tomorrow. We're out.
The Hits Back with Nahaja Black is sponsored by the Cancer Treatment Centers of America and Burger King.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
People needing to confirm they are COVID-free turning out in droves to free testing sites today. And the government hoping to avoid inter-island travel restrictions. Good evening. I'm Tashina Robinson. Your Guardian Network News at 6 starts now. Thanks for joining us.